In order to win in life, we must accept the possibility that we might lose. The losses come as often as wins, so we must reach a state that is beyond winning and losing, a stateless state, a free state, our true state. You see, nirvana is not about winning or losing, it's about being one with thyself. And the beauty of this is that in order to be one with thyself, you have to be beyond the self. You see, when we're so attached to winning, then we start to experience fear. We experience paranoia. We experience fear of the outcome, when really the outcome is outside of our control. You see, the beauty of God is that not even she knows what's going to happen, because you see, God may know parts of what are going to happen, but God is also fluid. So God is all-knowing, but at the same time, because God might change her plans, she's also not all-knowing. She's just spontaneous. And that's what you need to be. You see, when you're so caught up in defending yourself, then you never attack. And when you're so caught up in attacking, then you can never defend. Because when we're caught in one condition of life, then we can't be unconditional. We can't be free. In war, a general, if he's so caught up in winning, then he'll fear losing and he'll never actually set out his plan. But when a general has no opinion, when he just does what he needs to do and is detached from the result, then everything happens beautifully and effortlessly. And that's what you need to be, a wise general that sees the battlefield of life and comes prepared but does not fear losing in the battlefield of life. A lot of people think spirituality is about rejecting the material world completely. But what people don't understand is that actually spirituality is the greatest help that you can have in the material world. Because the eternal source is spirituality, it is true spirituality, connecting with the eternal source. And the guru points you to the eternal source always. So when you're aligned with the eternal source, then you effortlessly participate in a world that comes from the eternal source, because you see everything as the play of the goddess, the play of the mother. You see, when you keep your focus on the eternal Tao, and you keep your focus in this world on the guru who's always pointing to the eternal Tao, then you remain in the Tao, and then you flow through the riverbank of life effortlessly. But when you think that you're something else but your true nature, then that restricts you from achieving in this world, because I'm telling you, the only way you can achieve in this world is peace. Because every activity that you have in this world ends in stillness. So if you don't connect with that inner stillness, that inner silence, then how can you conquer the noise? The beauty of this world is that it gives us an opportunity to test ourselves in the battlegrounds of life. We go through trials and tribulations, we go through losses to teach us how to win. That's why you can't fear losing, because you can never partake in a journey if you fear losing throughout the journey. The greatest adventures were, they didn't think about whether they were going to get at the end. They might have had a goal, but they didn't think about what they were going to get, in a sense that they were frantically worried, oh, if I partake in this, I'm going to get hatred, I'm going to get fame, I'm going to get this and that. No, they were just doing what they loved. The greatest journeys, they were just doing what they loved. So you have to make life fun and a game, instead of this serious thing where you feel like you have to protect this ego, and if you fail, you're going to disappoint your parents, you're going to disappoint people who are looking at you. It's just you. It's just God. You don't have to worry about what other people think about you. You don't have to worry about pleasing others in life or pleasing their versions of you, in a sense that if you fail, now you feel like others are going to make fun of you, and you don't feel as big and bad as you once did. Don't feel a need to feel big and bad. I'm telling you, the greatest leaders in life, they always had a sage. They didn't think of themselves as, oh, I'm so smart. They always had a sage and an advisor who would calm their ego down and stop them from, becoming somebody who has an absolutionist approach to life, in a sense they want to control life. You see, the king, the wise king, he always has a wise sage next to him to remind him of wisdom. But a lot of people, like a Nero, right? I feel so bad for Seneca. He had to deal with Emperor Nero. You guys may have heard of Emperor Nero, the Roman emperor who was a tyrant. And Seneca, a lot of his books on anxiety, they are due to the fact of him dealing with Nero and trying to help Nero, but also fearing that Nero might kill him due to him giving him advice, genuine advice. So don't be like a Nero, in a sense where you don't listen to the sage and you don't listen to wisdom, and you're so caught up in material life, because then when you're so caught up in material life, you'll be desperate for material life, and then you'll commit any act you can to get what you think is going to satisfy you, and you find out that it doesn't. In the sense that a lot of people, when they engage in an action such as, for example, prostitution, they think that the money is worth it, but then they find that instead of finding peace, they just kept collecting money, but then they kept having to do the activity that led to that money. So in a sense, we become enslaved to worldly life when we would do anything to attain something in worldly life. But when we don't care about losing, then we remain with our dignity and we remain with our respect. But when you're so desperate to win, then you'll do anything. You'll sleep with, like, you know how those, you know, elites, they'll sleep with somebody to get to the top. You see, when you're so desperate to win, it's like you'll throw away your dignity and you'll throw away your ego. And I'm not saying an unhealthy ego. You see, Sage Shiva, you'll see he wears. There's a saying that Sage Shiva wears my ego. I mean, not my ego. My guru. He says that Shiva wears his ego as an ornament. So in a sense, you have to wear your ego not shamelessly, but and to yourself. I'm not saying that you base your shame on other people in a sense that you judge your ego based on other people, but I'm saying don't feel ashamed of yourself. Don't betray yourself. Don't be hypocritical to yourself. Because when you're hypocritical to yourself, then there's no room for honesty. There's no room for growth. There's no room for moving past the self that's kept you limited. And a lot of people, they're so caught up, this ego wants to win so bad that they won't listen to a guru, they won't listen to somebody who's trying to help them because they want to be the wise, all-knowing person. But it's actually when you don't fear not being smart is when you truly become smart. And when you don't fear being destroyed is when you can truly create. And it's so beautiful how existence just has this open game for us, but we take it too seriously. It's just a game. The same way you turn on a video games are based on life. It's the same thing, I'm telling you. And a lot of people say, oh, you're schizophrenic, you think video games and life are the same. In essence, it is, because a video game disappears. No matter how long you play a video game, it has to end at some point. So life is a game, and why are you taking a game seriously? And the beauty of it is that the only person, let's say somebody's playing a shooting game, and while they're playing the shooting game, they're all frantic about what they're doing. You can't, but you ever notice when you're playing a video game, and it's like you keep practicing the game, and you just effortlessly play, you effortlessly shoot, but at the beginning, you were like frantic, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But then when you kept practicing, it's the same with wisdom. When you keep practicing wisdom, when you listen to the Sadguru and listen to his practices and access the inner guru, then you effortlessly practice life, because it's just beautiful how peace is really the solution to all problems. And I feel so bad for people who think spirituality is just for people who are in caves or are in mountains. As Sage Osho says, poverty is not spirituality, and poverty is the source of all crimes, Osho said, and that's a beautiful statement, because it is. You don't have to be poor to be spiritual. And you know, that's why I love talking about I love talking about spirituality and helping people achieve even in their and use spirituality to achieve in their material life, because the knowledge of the sages needs to be spread everywhere, and people should be aware of the sages. And I'm telling you, the more you're aware of the sages, the more successful you'll be. You'd be surprised how many successful people actually had a guru. Like Steve Jobs, his guru was Neem Karoli Baba. And Steve Jobs, when he was younger, he used to spend time in temples, and he actually had a wide collection of spiritual books. And a lot of people thought Steve Jobs was weird, and he was even kicked out of his own company. But you see, like, because Steve Jobs was devoted to spirituality, no matter what people said about his, I guess, quote unquote, weird behavior with those idiots, you know, judging him think, he was still true and devoted to his path of achieving whatever God wanted him to achieve. And look, I'm using this to record an iPhone right now. You see, it's like, thank you, Neem Karoli Baba, Sage Neem Karoli Baba, for helping Steve Jobs, you know, calm his mind so he could live his life's purpose. See, now I'm using a phone to record this video. You see how everything is connected? So it's like, imagine if you're calm and at peace, and you're one with the inner sage. And it's like, a lot of people think a sage is just somebody who goes out and teach. But a sage is really the representative of the eternal source. And you can access your inner sage. A lot of people, they want to be wannabe sages and go out and teach instead of letting students naturally come to them. And it's disgusting when I see that. You know, a lot of people, they'll listen to like a couple of my videos, and then I just had a session with them, helping them. Then a couple, like, they'll be like, oh, thank you for helping me on the path of enlightenment. And then 3 days later, I'll see them post a YouTube video. I'm like, man, you're not even like, you just were asking me for help, and all of a sudden now you want to go out and teach. Because a lot of people, they're so frantic to get attention and likes and validation from people. And it's like, you know, I always say this, I never wanted to be a sage until people started calling me a sage and approaching me in person to teach. So it's like, naturally let your life's purpose play out. Don't try to force it. A lot of people, they're so caught up in they want to be a rapper, but they don't actually love music. You see, they're so caught up in, or there's other examples, right? A lot of people, they want to be a rich man, but they don't actually love what they're doing to get that money. You see, getting caught up in titles, getting caught up in positions. So when I say access the inner sage, I'm not saying, you know, because a lot of people, they want to achieve something material, or they don't want to be a sage. I'm not saying you're going to be a sage, but I'm saying you can access the inner sage by accessing that inner stillness and being devoted to wisdom. Not just, oh, I read a spiritual quote, but you don't actually practice. You don't read it over and over again. You don't listen to lectures over and over again. You just, take it and throw it out. So I'm telling you, being devoted to wisdom and the gurus will help you in your material life, because there is no solution without peace. There's no solution in this material world. Even presidents and stuff like that, they have to come to a peaceful agreement. And presidents and stuff, that's like the height of the material world, and not, they're like the leaders of the material world. So, and even they have to surrender to peace in the end, in peace agreements, or everything goes to shit. Everything ends in war. So you have to understand the importance of peace and prioritizing your peace in this material world. Because I'm telling you, when you're not obsessed with, winning, you won't give up your peace for stupid things in this material world that don't even last. And I'm not saying that you have to go on, you don't have to be spiritual to go on a spiritual path. In a sense that you don't have to be stereotypically spiritual. Like, you notice I'm not wearing monk robes and all this and stuff. So you don't have to look spiritual to be spiritual. Just because you work at a bank doesn't mean that you cannot be like the Buddha. So just be free and learn to prioritize wisdom overall and the guru's teachings overall, and you'll effortlessly succeed in this material world, because you'll constantly be paying attention to your true nature that is beyond this material world and is the source of it. And I'm telling you, it's like being in witnessing consciousness is amazing, because it's beautiful how you see how much you stressed about life and how much you worried about achieving and what was going to happen. And you realize that those worries were never yours. And the guru reminds you that you're always free, and you're free to achieve anything in this world after that. Like, there was this great saying that this guru said about how people in this life, they're so focused on achieving material goals, when if they achieved spiritual goals, they would realize how effortlessly those material goals come to them. So you should just see how life is so effortless when you are devoted to spirituality and the guru. It's beautiful. Just find out for yourself.